I'll be honest with you, not if I think of the top 10 best dicks I've ever had, they didn't play video games. So I'm convinced video games are for mediocre dicks.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
I feel so appreciative that my boyfriend doesn't play video games. I know when you're saying, no, it's social, and no, they're not just nerds. It's still a game.
You're enjoying it, but you could also be planning something nice for us.
Video games themselves, I would argue, are a net negative on society.
This video is an intervention. If you're a man and you play video games, the cold hard truth is you are actively wearing women repellent and have no skill with the ladies. Is what Liz Wheeler would have you believe, and honestly, this is a sentiment I heard a lot growing up, even from women themselves. Women of today are still saying it. So why are people upset about what Liz Wheeler said? Even though the study she referenced was fake, she doubled down on the matter. But if I've heard this sentiment amongst so many adults, women in particular, in my life, and online, then why is this a hot take? Has the culture changed? No, not really. It's simply the angle in which people choose to have this discussion that has changed. And the fake study Liz Wheeler referencing having things such as online trolling, gambling, and taxidermy lower on the list. First of all, I want to make something clear that should be common sense, but it's 2024, that stopped existing in 2020. No woman is thinking to herself, you know what's hot? A dude sitting in front of his TV or monitor pushing buttons for a few hours. I say this because we're looking at this discussion from the wrong angle, which is whether or not a woman finds a man who plays video games attractive. The truth of the matter is, most women do not care. They focus on other aspects of a man, from physical attraction to characteristics such as confidence and humor. After finding out the study Liz Wheeler referenced was fake, I decided to do a little digging, and I came across 2 studies. Nothing scholarly, but they provide enough data on the topic. All my sources are linked in the description. In the first study by UtahStats, they asked 360 women from BYU, or Brigham Young University in Utah, and neighboring Utah universities, rate how much more romantically interested you'd be in an individual upon finding out they participate or engage in the following hobbies. Now, this particular study does not specify whether or not this applied strictly to heterosexual women. Nonetheless, the graph is a direct split down the middle in regards to how women feel about their romantic partners playing video games. 50% of women were in the position of being somewhat less or much less attracted based on the hobby of video games, that percentage being only 10% higher than 40%, the percentage of women who felt about the same level of attractiveness. However, if you add the amount of women who are somewhat more or much more attracted, you would have 10%, which results in a 50-50 split. In the study done by datepsychology.com, they asked 391 women from a list of 74 hobbies what they found attractive and unattractive. This study did specify that it was heterosexual women being surveyed. The key takeaways are that video games did not make the top 15 of the 74 hobbies, meaning, newsflash, no woman is falling in love or dropping her panties for a man because he plays video games. Video games didn't make the 15 least attractive hobbies either, because women are not repulsed by men who play video games either. The exact statistic is 38.2% of women found the hobby attractive, while 61.8% found the hobby unattractive. One important thing to keep in mind is the study did not provide an option for indifference to the hobby, meaning if given the option based on the study done in Utah, I would not be surprised if a good percentage of women from either side would have voted on indifferent. The objective truth of the matter is that most women don't feel attraction or repulsion simply because a man plays video games as a hobby. Even when you take the time to listen to the nonsense ramblings of these women on the Manosphere or Red Pill podcasts, or the ones on TikTok, the sentiment is clear. Men who obsessively play video games to the degree of failing to socialize, take care of their hygiene, interact with their girlfriend, provide and provision for themselves and loved ones, aka make bread, are what women deem unattractive. But if you use at least one brain cell, you'll realize the problem isn't with video games, but rather the obsessive nature a lot of men do have with them. Even with men who have an unhealthy relationship with games, women are far more tolerable of it compared to things such as porn, gambling, or drug addiction. So do the average rational women find men who have just finished a long day sitting down and playing some video games unattractive? No. Now, if gaming is your entire identity, so much so you neglect other important aspects of your life, then yeah, that's a problem. After Liz Wheeler's tweet went viral and it was proven that the study she was referencing was a joke, which she claims she was well aware of, she made a YouTube video where she doubled down. So I went through her 53-minute video and I have some comments on some of the things she says in the video. First of all, she makes it clear multiple times throughout the video that she knew the graph was fake, and in fact, she was posting it as a joke. However, despite being aware it was fake and posting it for haha funnies, she does actually believe that there is validity to the claim. She mentions that she was actually surprised how upset men were with her statement, especially since she thought it was obvious that it was a joke, considering online trolling, taxidermy, and gambling were lower on the list. Liz Wheeler even goes on to say that had the shoe been on the other foot, she would have been more open to understanding why men, her husband in particular, would look at her hypothetical hobby that way, and if her husband's statement held any weight, she would consider altering her habits. Here are a few clips of her articulating her point on the topic.
First of all, the reason that this meme is funny, and the reason that it hit home, is partially because it's true. And I know, that's the part that insulted you, but understand that this was never intended as a personal insult. A personal insult. Video games, even if you like them, shouldn't be your identity. Nothing should be your identity except you as a child of God. So if you feel that I have somehow shanked your identity, which I haven't, that's on you because you identify, part of your identity is with video games. Never how it was intended. A comment, or this is really an observation of human nature, a cultural observation, that women just don't like when men play video games, we don't find it attractive. That's just an objective observation. It's not even me saying that's how women should be. It wasn't even at the time a commentary on whether men should or should not play video games. It was just an observation that actually most women feel like this, and most men don't understand why women feel like this. Just an observation of human nature here. Wasn't intended as an insult. Although, like I said, kind of some of you are substantiating my point by being so insulted by this.
She shows a tweet that is supposed to be the reason why women can find the activity of gaming unattractive. I disagree with the tweet, as gaming can be a very social experience, especially if you are playing online games with friends. You are on voice chat communicating and socializing with your friends. How is that antisocial? It only counts as social if you meet the person IRL. Does that mean phone calls are antisocial? In a way, I get the point trying to be made here. I did spend a considerable amount of time in this video explaining why women find gaming unattractive, but TikTok and online shopping are false comparisons. Watching TikTok videos and actively being engaged in a video game where you control the character and need to communicate and strategize is not the same. Nor is going on Amazon and Shein to buy some cosmetic items.
To be a man requires essentially 4 things, right? To provide, to protect, to produce, and procreate. That's essentially the role of men in society, what men were created to do. So any activity or hobby that either demonstrates to women that men are proficient in providing, protecting, producing, or procreating, or increases your skill at providing, protecting, producing, or procreating, women are going to find attractive. This is just basic biology.
This is true. Liz Wheeler does make a claim that she believes video games are a net negative to society, specifically violent video games, and she references a meta-analysis that finds a connection between violent video games and an increase in aggression. After checking out the study, sources in the description, I have to be honest, there is validity to her claim in regards to the study, not the net negative to society one. In short, the meta-analysis found that those within the studies that played violent video games did exhibit an increase in aggression, and they were very thorough with filtering, qualifying, and cross-examining. Again, the study is linked in the description if you want to give it a read. Maybe you'll see something either of us missed. Regardless of the study, I do think it is a strange extreme to dislike video games to such a degree, and keep in mind, this meta-analysis does not conclude that video games have a correlation to violent crime. The implications of the meta-analysis are important to keep an eye on moving forward, but the reality is video games are not the poison Liz Wheeler wants to make it out to be, especially considering the multitudes of hobbies and pastimes that are significantly worse. After her claim about gaming being a net negative to society, she proceeds to say what I wrote in the script prior to watching her video.
So women should stay off of social media, right? That's from Aaron Darden. So there's an argument to be made that that's the case, yeah. So if you were to ask me what the equivalent unattractive hobby is for women, I would say prolific Instagram use, especially pseudo-influencer type of things where you're constantly taking pictures of yourself, like very egocentric, very narcissistic type of stuff. The women equivalent hobby, the best one that I could think of, is if women's identity is based off of their consumption of the Real Housewives franchise.
And I agree. An obsessive behavior or attachment to video games is ultimately what makes video games unattractive to women. And in that same token, a woman who is chronically on TikTok saying the new quote trend, demure, is an extreme turnoff to a lot of men. It all comes full circle. It is ultimately about whether or not you have a healthy balance within your life and if video games complement that balance or not. The rest of her video is unrelated to the topic at hand. All in all, after delving deeper on Liz Wheeler's take, although I disagree with the negative severity she claims video games have, I don't find myself disagreeing with her all that much. Please make sure to check out the sources in the description to verify everything yourself if that interests you. If you enjoyed this video, you should consider watching the video on screen now, where I talk about how and why gaming as an adult sucks. Thanks for watching.